Amanita muscaria was used as a stimulant in Siberia and Scandinavia. We will talk about that and more fun fly killer mushroom facts while I sketch this little fly killer. So let's turn the page and get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on is it Saturday morning already? Saturday morning. Goodness, where did the week go? Saturday mornings, I like to do a little thing where I pull a random object out of the random object randomographer, a toy from the toy box, and I draw it, and we talk about it. And today's another fun guy. That's right, Claudia. And today's random object from the random object randomographer is Amanita muscaria. Now, I have drawn an Amanita muscaria before. This is the second Amanita muscaria model in this set. And the other one, remember, had the wide open top. This one has a more closed top. The model maker's toy. I don't think it's Toy Money. I think it's somebody else. But the model maker's argument was that you needed to be able to recognize it in its various forms. I think it's just as likely that it's another cool mushroom that they decided to include in the set, because it is a really nice model. Very nice indeed. I forget who makes it though. I don't think it's Toy Money. I bought it off Amazon. There are quite a few model makers on Amazon that, like the snails that I bought, these mushrooms that I bought. I could be wrong. These are not Toy Money, because they would say Toy Money on them if they were.
Claudia says they grow in the Netherlands. I wondered if we had them also.
They do grow in the Netherlands. We don't have this particular. One. We have a very similar one, but not this particular one. But they are from the Netherlands all the way across northern Eurasia. Like I said, the Siberians and the Netherlands, the Scandinavian shamans used to use these as stimulants. That may be enough pencil. The pencil confuses me. Good morning, Pamela.
Claudia said, I love red with white dot mushrooms.
Yes, they're glorious. I like them, and I like them in bright orange too. Yellow also. But yes, I love these kinds of mushrooms for their appearances. They're quite popular in pop culture. Since we spent the last time we did this mushroom, not this model, we spent most of the time talking about their evolution and their scientific facts. I thought we'd spend some time this time talking about their social and medicinal influence. The fact that they've historically, there's a compound in them called Muscimol that when it is diluted out of the mushroom, it can be used to treat anxiety, sleep disorders, pain, inflammation, low focus, all of the things associated with ADHD. It can be used to treat epilepsy. They're actually using it in testing right now in a compound called gaboxidol, uh, to treat as a treatment for epilepsy because it affects the GABA part of the brain. So they call it gaboxidol, and it's quite promising for that. But the shamans have known that for centuries because they have been using it to treat exactly those kinds of things. Let's see. We want just a little. We want just a little indication here of that ribbing. All the way down our mushroom. Then we need some spots. It's okay. It has a reputation as being a fly killer. The name Muscaria refers to the flies because for years they thought this was a fly killer mushroom. They would chop it up into small chunks, and they would put it in a saucer with milk, and it would attract and supposedly kill flies. Now it turns out that's not accurate. If you they see the flies slowing down and knocking out on their tables, and that anecdotal evidence supports their belief. But the truth of the matter is once you put it to a scientific test, you find that the flies are just dazed by the ibotenic acid produced by the mushrooms, and that after a few minutes it wears off and they fly away. But you look over and you see all the flies laying around on the table, and you think, oh, it's working. But the two compounds produced in the mushroom that cause effects on people, the ibotenic acid and the muscimol. Ibotenic acid is the one that causes the nausea and the confusion and the seizures. It can cause death. It doesn't often cause death. Claudia says it reminds her that she has some mushroom gummies. Yes, we live in a part of the world where mushroom gummies are quite illegal. Actually, they're not. We'll get to that in a minute. They're not illegal. This is not a controlled substance. But in 2024, they caused about 73 deaths. 73 people went to the hospital. 73 people went to the hospital, and 4 people died because of some edibles with this mushroom in it. We'll talk about that later. Actually, I pretty much just told you everything I know about it, but we will. That is going to come up a little later. This is the one, if you remember, we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I guess it's been about a month. The Siberian shaman would feed these to reindeer. The reindeer would eat these, and then they would collect the reindeer urine, and then use the reindeer urine to. They would administer the reindeer urine to get the muscimol out of it. The reindeer, apparently they would use the reindeer as a filter to make it not so debilitating, do away with the nausea and the deadly side effects. So that was this is that mushroom. Same mushroom. I forgot to spritz my paints. I've been in this studio. I've been sitting here in this chair in this studio since 4 o'clock this morning, getting up only to get more coffee. And I did not spritz my paints. I didn't start on time. I didn't call my mother until a minute before the show was supposed to start. It's so easy to get distracted. This is my favorite part of the process. I probably never told you guys this before. This is my favorite part of the process. When I get to add the shading that turns it from a set of lines on the page to a dimensional object. Probably never told you guys that before, but without a doubt, this is my favorite part of the whole process. Now this is tricky because those are bumps. They're not just white dots, they're bumps. So their shading is different. But they are still in shade. What, Mom?
They call them warts.
Warts. Is that what they call them?
Yeah.
I always just call them bumps.
They call them warts.
I just call them bumps. This is the toadstool, right? There's 5,500-year-old rock art in Algeria depicting this thing. This thing has been in human culture for literally thousands of years.
I guess he wants us to tell him again what a bad friend he is.
Oh, it's a running joke. You know, the inside jokes are what make these daily things fun, because you guys are in on the joke, and the new people are like, "What? Why is everybody shouting subtle hint?
Yeah.
Why is everybody shouting vermilion?" And then they catch on that if they start doing it, they'll be part of the cool kid club. Because all the cool kids shout vermilion and subtle hint.
Article I read, they talked about an area of Japan where they eat these, they boil them like 1-2 times before they eat them.
Yes.
Get rid of all of them.
Yeah, they have to boil it. The ibotenic acid breaks down into muscimol under high heat and water. When you eat it, your body will break it down from the ibotenic acid to the muscimol, but it's the breaking down of the ibotenic acid that causes the illness. So let me dry this real quick, and then we'll come back. Subtle hint. Let me dry this real quick, and then we'll come back with some color. Woke up to some happy email this morning. I got an email from Pamela. We'll show it on What's on Your Easel Thursday night. She apparently played with Ivy yesterday, doing some coloring, and they colored in my coloring book. They colored the hermit crab in my coloring book. I missed it. We got busy right at that time. My day job, my corporate sponsorship, got busy right at the time that I would normally have been arting with Ivy. So I missed the live show. I appreciate that my corporate sponsors wanted me to do something besides sit and watch YouTube. But it was bad timing. Don't they know I have friends to see, things to do? You know, honestly, they're very good. They put up with me with a lot of stuff. Like if it gets really slow, I'll break my watercolors out at my desk, and they don't say anything. They don't balk, because I can just throw it down and jump up and do whatever they need me to do when they need me to do it. So there's no question about whether or not it interferes with what I'm doing.
And I said it was fun. She hasn't colored in a color for years.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I'm going to hit this with some vermilion. You know what I want to do first, though? First off, let me get that dot so that I don't smear it around. First, where's my crayon? I have a crayon, a wax crayon here. I'm going to go over those dots. Warts. My mom says they're called warts. I'm going to try to set up a little wax resist. I colored them with some ochre, yellow ochre, a real light coating of yellow ochre, because on this part of the mushroom, on my model, they are not as white as the stalk, and so I hit them with a eggshell type coating of yellow ochre. Let's see if that. Hopefully that'll be enough to where I don't have to be so incredibly careful with the vermilion. Hopefully that'll give me a wax resist so that I don't have to be so incredibly careful with the vermilion. Could slow down. That just wouldn't be my style. We've talked about that on we did a critique a couple weeks ago on the Thursday night show, and we talked about my need to slow down on some of these things. Now, my inability to do so, my instant gratification need to see this completed quickly stops me from. So the subdued colors look nice too. I like it with the subdued colors too. But my instant gratification cravings growing up as a TV generation make me want to see it finished quickly.
No, it's funny. They're talking about how long it's been since they colored in a coloring book. And I can't remember the last time I colored in a coloring book. And not one of my grandkids really liked the coloring book.
So I got Unique with Chantiel LaFontaine. She's really into this manga video game cartoon, and I got her a coloring book based on that. And Girl One sent me a picture of her coloring. Unique with Chantiel was actually
When she was younger, she never liked it.
Right, because her mother doesn't like it.
Right.
But I got her mother the adult swear word coloring book, and I couldn't. She was coloring all day long in that. She loved that.
How funny.
She would come home from work stressed, and she would sit down, open that coloring book, and color in it. As an adult, she was not a child when I did this. She was an adult when I did this. As a child, she was never interested in coloring books.
Never. You know, if any of them, when they were with me, if any of them wanted to color, they wanted it just a plain piece of paper.
Yeah. I was the same way. I remember being the exact same way. To this day, I struggle with coloring other people's art.
It's a nice color. Oh, garden.
Can't talk arting. Also have to be careful. This is not watercolor paper. It doesn't stand up to treatment like this very well. So I have to be just a little cautious.
Starts to get sticker worthy again.
I also have to be careful because the mushrooms usually turn into something I can't put in the children's coloring books.
This is not vermilion.
It started off as vermilion. You missed the vermilion? I had to come back with crimson. The vermilion is the highlights. But it did start off as vermilion. Look at how I completely neglected that drop shadow though. In the shading part, I was so eager to get to that red. I was so eager to get to that cap that I completely neglected the drop shadow.
Sure enough.
Talk, Harding. Where'd we leave off? Ibotenic acid breaking down into Muscimol inside the human body, and it can be boiled, but it's never been approved by the FDA for food. Like I said, in 2024, a candy company included it in one of their edibles, and 74 people were hospitalized because of it, directly related to it. 74 people were hospitalized, and I think I said 4 people died, which is unusual. People don't usually die. It's always a possibility with this mushroom. It's always a possibility. So it's not like this is a perfectly safe mushroom. You're just going to get a little tummy sickness. It is always a possibility that you will die eating this mushroom. So you have to be careful. Microdoses. The people that do it suggest microdoses. Interestingly, though, it's never been regulated by the FDA. So you can still go into a lot of gas stations, and they'll have this as the legal psychedelic. They will bill this as the legal psychedelic mushroom, and they'll sell it in microdose pouches, which I'm not sure is ethical, because they know that there's always the potential for the side effects. They know that there's always the potential that somebody will get ill and die. But these are the same people that will sell teenagers cigarettes. So right, I like that one. Let me dry that real quick, and then we'll come back with some ink. You know what? I really want that stalk. I want that stalk to be stark white. So I think I'm going to take a little bit of lime green, and I'm just going to add it to this yellow ochre I already have here. I'm going to get a real thin mixture, because I don't want it to overwhelm anything. We'll just get a real thin mixture here, and go around the outside and just make that stark white pop. It'll also bring the warts back out. When you do this, you have to remember to go over the shadow. If you don't go over the shadow, then you are saying that the shadow is part of the mushroom. and not part of the environment. So you have to remember to go over the shadow as well. But you also have to be very careful not to get it up on the mushroom, because if you get it up on the mushroom, then you are saying that the mushroom is part of the environment and not part of the mushroom. So see how that just made that pop off the page. I'm pleased with that. Let me dry that and then we'll come back with some ink. Historical use as a stimulant is what prompted Alice in Wonderland to use, Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, to use mushrooms to get her through the day. The Super Mario Brothers game, Mario eats mushrooms to get bigger. There are many pop culture references to this particular mushroom, mostly because it's pretty though. A lot of the pop culture references, like the Smurfs living in these things, it could have been any mushroom for the Smurfs, but they chose this one because it's pretty. The cartoonists chose this one for the Smurf cartoon for the aesthetic. And I don't blame them, because it really is just a lovely, lovely little fun guy. I believe so. They're just not native to our area. And any dark, cool place. You're on Google, look that up. That's a good question. I think they're just not native to our area. But I would have to believe. Really good. We don't have the right soil.
No, it says I asked them if they would grow until 9 are zone for plants, and it said that they typically thrive in cooler and temperate climates, in cooler region.
Right. So Wisconsin.
Yeah, it may not be, zone 9 is a warm climate.
Check and see if they're in the continental U.S. though.
It says they also, you have to check the humidity levels as they climb. We can't get much higher than we have.
Right. So I mean, I think they do well in Michigan, Wisconsin, Michigan particularly because they have the high humidity around the Great Lakes. What is today? All right.
Worst areas.
Yeah, I just don't think they're native to North America. I don't think there's anything really stopping them from growing in North America. They're just not native to North America.
Michigan, Minnesota, Pacific Northwest. Anyway.
Do they grow there?
Yeah. You can find them there on a real top easily.
Well. All right, let's see. Today is the 18th of July. They should be packing up. My wife and kids should know this is their last day of camping, isn't it?
No, they get back to bed.
Are they going to be?
Should, because they'll be home tomorrow.
I thought they weren't going to be home till Monday.
No, he supposed to be home Sunday.
It was a good thing I knew that. I've got to have time to run my girls up before my wife gets home. That basically means I have to pick up all the dishes around the house. Why is there just one Smurfette? Because the Smurfs were made in a lab, Claudia. And Gargamoyle could only perfected the formula to make female Smurfs twice. And I'm very frustrated that I know that. Smurfs don't breed and have babies. Smurfs were produced in a magic lab by Gargamoyle, and he uses their essence for longevity, for youth and longevity, and they escaped.
You know more.
I am. She says she's a bit jealous. Woo, we'll save that for the Thursday night show. But no, it's because they're made in a lab. They don't breed like other animals. They were made. There is a baby in the story. Yep, there is a baby in the story. You know, but at that point, you just have to realize it's a cartoon. But they're not. They don't have babies. They were created in Gargamoyle. That's why Gargamoyle is always so hip to get them back. Is because he thinks they are his, and they think they are autonomous. All right. So there is my version of it. Oh, it changed cameras. There is my version of it compared to. Let's do this. How about you pay attention to what I'm clicking, computer? All right. There's my version of it compared to the photograph. Let's see it from my perspective. You are the quintessential Smurfologist of our time. Yeah, it's embarrassing that I know that, Rick. But I've seen all the Smurf movies because every time a Smurf movie has come out, I've had a kid that was interested in seeing a Smurf movie. So there it is from my perspective. So that's what I did today. Tomorrow, what's this? That was yesterday. Put that away. Tomorrow, what do we have tomorrow? This is truly a surprise. I have no idea what's in that egg. And I put it there. All right, let me see. We'll put that camera because now we're all in suspense. Oh. Blame it on the kids. I always blame it on the kids. Every time I go watch a kids movie, even when I go watch a kids movie by myself, I say I have to see this for the kids. All right, tomorrow we have an orangutan. Now I feel like we just did an orangutan, but the truth of the matter is it's been about 3 months since we did an orangutan, and it was a different orangutan. Tomorrow we'll probably talk about orangutans in pop culture, like in the Planet of the Apes, how the orangutans were the politicians. Or we'll talk about how the orangutan in the Edgar Allan Poe story of Hop Frog. That's always entertaining to me. So we'll talk about that and more fun orangutan lore tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Texas time. So you're going to want to set your notification bell so you don't miss that. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Partying with my besties in the morning is my favorite time of the day. I truly look forward to it every day. And honestly, today I've been in the studio since 4 a.m. going, is it time? And I'm on my second cup of coffee, so that's probably more of what this is about. But guys, be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, because that is how I know that the lag has caught up with the stream, and I will know that I won't be cut off mid-sentence, because being cut off mid-sentence is rude. Nobody likes that. It gives you a chance to click the clicky thingies so you can watch another fantastic video just like this one. Gives everybody a chance to say hello and goodbye to each other. Rick says, do it for the children. Do it for humanity. But the most important thing is that I don't get cut off mid-sentence, because being cut off mid-sentence is rude.